What is up, everybody? I am here with the wonderful Matt Santangelo. We're going to be talking Roma Lazio, the Roma Derby. Matt, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Wayne. Appreciate you having me on here. And of course, it's also good to see your face. I haven't seen you in a while in person. So this is good enough for now until we can actually get together and actually watch games live together. So I appreciate being on with you.
Thank you, man. Matt's a good friend of mine. For anyone who doesn't know, we kind of grew up together. And it's so funny that through Calcio, we've reconnected over the years and become really, I would say, good friends. So it's a beautiful thing when something like that happens. And thankful for a couple minutes of his time, probably run about 20 minutes thinking today. And Matt is a wealth of knowledge. People know him for his Milan contributions, but also what he does around the entire Calcio world. That being, you were doing stuff with ICC, you've done stuff for Gentleman Ultra, these footy times, like you've been everywhere. So you've built yourself up, and not somebody who was handed like a nice, comfortable, comfy job, but somebody who's totally grinded it out of just hard work. What are you up to right now? What's your main focus, your main role right now with Calcio?
Sure. Well, first off, thanks for the kind words, man. It's great, being able to, in this sort of time of football media, sports media, to be able to carve something out for yourself and really not have to rely on others. I mean, you can create a blog, you can create a YouTube channel. Like, we had a YouTube channel in the past. Remember, we were doing videos in your basement in your house around us. So you can, for people who are listening, want to get into it, you can carve something out like I have. I've been able to contribute to some really big sites, and I've had the honor and privilege of being able to write a couple times for AS Roma's English site too. So it's a pretty big honor for me to contribute to such a big club with such a big social media presence, and that really prides themselves on giving opportunity to writers and aspiring content creators like me. But as far as what I'm doing right now, it's really just my podcast, State of Play Pod. We have grown a lot in the past, I would say, year and a half, as far as being able to get some big guests on there. We've had Matteo Bonetti. We've had a couple of the big prominent members in the Calcio community as well. That podcast is predominantly focused on Europe's top 5 leagues, plus a little bit of MLS. So I think we can cover all our bases there. We were actually nominated for an award, the Football Content Awards, that was supposed to take place in Tottenham Stadium last year, shall I say. Obviously, with COVID, we weren't able to do it, but we did actually get enough support to win Best New Content Creator, which was a massive achievement for us. And we have some other things that we're working on with this podcast moving forward that we hope to announce very soon. As far as my sort of newer projects, it's the Milan Reports. Me and my friend Martino Puccio, we're doing a lot of Twitch content. So we have a weekly podcast that comes out every Tuesday. We stream live. We have a ton of backing from a lot of loyal Milan supporters. And then we also do a lot of transfer news, post-match reactions, anything breaking as far as new transfers or announcements or renewals with the club. We're always first to stream. So that's pretty much what I'm focusing on right now.
Awesome. Milan Reports. So what type of work is that? Is that a blog, or is it a little deeper? Are you doing video, audio, any podcasts along with that?
Yeah, so the way it is that it's a site. For those who aren't familiar with Vito Angeli, he's actually a Milan journalist. So he's kind of like a Milan in the know. He knows what's going on as far as transfers go with the club, and he's built out a very reliable record for himself. So we are working with him. We're kind of bringing that sort of English element to his already pretty vast Italian audience, merging the two. And then what we do is we have a ton of articles on the sites. You guys can go check us out, milanreports.com. It's milanreports.com on Twitter. That's the English channel. We have an Arabic channel as well. And yeah, we're on Twitch, so we're doing a lot of live content, engaging with people, in real time, and to have the backing on Twitch that we have a lot of people subscribing, following us, and really dedicating a lot of their time and showing that love and loyalty to us. It's really been great, especially at this time with Milan, of course, having a really good season and in line to get back to the Champions League if things go according to plan for them. Yeah,
Milan started so hot
and in line to get back to the Champions League if.
I'm sorry. I think I made a mistake there. I think I clicked on the YouTube, and then I was looking, and I was like, wait, start having a moment. Milan started so hot, and they of course, cooled off, as did Roma. So extremely similar situation where with their top 11, Roma plays wonderful football. And we actually haven't seen their top 11 because Zaniolo's been out, as did Milan. So I know what Roma's problem was with keeping up the pace when we were looking like we could actually go on and win the league, and now we're in 7th or 8th place, 7th. What happened at Milan? That was kind of that sluggish, mid-season, back-end, backstretch. What happened there?
Well, I think going into the season, they had such a great run post-COVID when play resumed last season, and they were one of the hottest teams in Europe's top 5, not just in Italy. I think as far as points were concerned, they had like almost top 4, top 5 amount of points, which speaks volumes, right? Because I think Atalanta were in there, Manchester City, and they scored a ton of goals too. So they were like really, really running, and they had entered the season, and people were saying, well, was that a fluke? Was that something that they really kind of just because the games didn't mean all that much in the grand scheme of things with their objectives, right? Because they were kind of like a Europa League team at that time. Is this team for real? Like, can they really do something heading into the current season we have here? And the first half of the season, they played with a chip on their shoulder, and I thought that was a really big thing for them because they were out to prove that it wasn't just a fluke, it wasn't an anomaly. They were a team that can aim for higher, and they can give that to the fans that belief and that dream of something great for the following season. And to your point, you said, they had a great first half of the season. They overachieved. I think that's quite obvious. They overachieved relative to the squad talent and the fact that when you look at the team that actually has won the title this year, their rivals Inter, the talent was it wasn't even close in my opinion. No disrespect to Milan. They have some fine players in their team, but Inter's project has been intact for a couple years now. They've been putting those building blocks in place to win the title this year and to be the team that did become the anti-Juve. So, but I think as far as what Roma is concerned, I think it's similar thing. And it's funny because we actually had on our podcast John Solano. I'm sure you've had many interactions with him. Great guy, knowledgeable, AS Roma Press, and we were talking about Friedkin, coming into the equation and what the fans can expect as far as a time frame to compete, right? Because this is the deepest Serie A has been in years, right? You look at the chase for top 4 here. It's 6 teams strong, 7 teams strong for a good portion of the season, which is a healthy thing for the league. And, I think there's a lot of people that when you look at Roma's situation, in many ways, they're kind of where Milan were a couple years ago. Like new owners trying to get a coach in there that can establish some stability, get players to build around, that are maybe 1 or 2 on the veteran side, yes, but a lot of players that are more on that rising star aspect of their career. And I think that's kind of where they're going with their project right now. And obviously, we're going to talk about Jose Mourinho, but there are several players in this Roma squad that I do like personally, and I think those are the players that Roma fans should really lean on and rely on to carry them into the next, hopefully, successful years for them.
Absolutely. And hopefully some of those guys that you think are going to be those pillars are going to be playing today. And I want to share the screen for a second. Share screen, 2 monitors. Yeah, I'm going to share it. Okay. So let's see. Now this should come up, right? If I go to this now, we can see what I'm using, which is a website called SportsMole, and that's showing up for you, right? You can see that?
Yeah, I can see it. It's a little bit distant, like it's a little
cool
zoomed out, but I can see it a little bit.
All right, so let me zoom in there.
There you go. Perfect.
Into Lazio's starting lineup: Reina, Marusic, Acerbi, Radu, Lazzari, Milinkovic-Savic, Leva, Alberto, Lulic, Correa, Immobile. What are you thinking of this side so far? These are some decent names.
It's a strong lineup. I mean, I think this is as strong as the Felipe is a miss for them. I know Luis Felipe is one of their a player that was really strong in the first half of the season, and he got a lot of buzz and rave reviews from not just Calcio observers, but people outside of Europe, looking at what he was doing and thinking that, man, this they got something here with him and Acerbi. They have a nice little tandem here. Obviously, that's a loss for them. But, look, Acerbi, we know that he brings that leadership element, what he's going to do back there. Pepe Reina can be dicey at times, but overall an established keeper in the game. He has longevity, and in matches like this, I think you'll find him putting his best foot forward. But obviously with this team, this Lazio team, the focus becomes on those 3 or 4 primary players. Milinkovic-Savic, who's an absolute animal. I mean, he's can pretty much do everything you want from a midfielder, a modern day midfielder. Can carry the ball, is very great in the air. You know, he can score goals. He's a good aerial threat. So he does a ton of different things from it, and that's why he's been the subject of big transfer talks over the past couple of years. Alberto has had a little bit of a down year, but we know what he's capable of. In some of his first seasons at Lazio, he was at least 10 goal, 10 assist guy every year. I mean, he was steadfast, one of the best playmakers, not only in Italy, but in Europe's top 5, if we're looking just from a number standpoint. Correa is a player that I have loved from afar for a long time. And it's agonizing seeing him taunt Milan or torture Milan so many times like he has, because I think he's such a player that's so effortlessly good on the ball, very silky, fine dribbler. When he gets into the final third, he often makes his chance count. And obviously Immobile, without question, probably the best striker past 3-4 years. Numbers go, as far as the consistency, as far as being a face for that Lazio, that emerging Lazio project. So Lazio they have a strong lineup out there. I mean, Simone Inzaghi, though this team has been streaky this year, pretty specifically, I know last year they were title contenders for a good portion of the season. They're a team that on their day, and you can ask this about Milan too a couple weeks ago, can really cause havoc and can really make things difficult for you.
Yeah, definitely. And in the first outing, the first, draw, Lazio Roma earlier in the season, I think it was, off the top of my head, I'm looking right now, it was, trying to get that, it would have been sometime around December. Lazio Roma, it was 3-0, January 15th.
Yeah.
Lazio, and I'm just going to click on who those score was. It was Immobile, and then Luis Alberto scored twice. So we have a lot of ground to make up. We can't really go out there and get embarrassed today and have anything like that again.
This is a match for pride. This is a match for pride because Roma, looking at their position with the decision being made about the coaching situation, Fonseca out, Jose Mourinho coming in. Obviously, like I said, new ownership. Looking at this squad and seeing what players can hack it, which players are worthy of this project, which players can prove they belong in this club and are worthy of that shirt. These are the matches you look for. Like, it's a derby. Like, you're playing for pride in this one, and especially too with Lazio having still a fight chance top 4. Roma want to be the team that kind of says, hey, like, let's end strong. Let's give Jose Mourinho something to kind of look at with this team and say, hey, you know what? I have something special here to build with. And this is a match that if you're trying to show Jose Mourinho what you're worth, this is the one you got to show up for. This is one of the biggest derbies in Europe for sure.
Yeah, totally. And I look at this probable lineup: Karsdorp, Mancini, Kumbula. Kumbula is somebody that Roma paid a lot of money for, and through injury, he just hasn't played a lot of time. So I would love for him to have an important game today, just for his confidence and to kind of establish himself within the side. And then Santon comes in because Spinazzola has been out. VR, Cristante. That midfield is should be pretty fluid. To be honest, they're not the most rugged. Two of them, they're a bit more attack minded. But then we have a top 3 plus 1, if you want to include the attacking mid. Probably with El Shaarawy, who should be getting a start today, I think. And then Dzeko will be there, Pellegrini, and Mkhitaryan. So Mkhitaryan, if he has another big game, there's that aspect of, well, is he gonna kind of stay under Mourinho? I don't know. I have no idea. But Mkhitaryan, for all intents and purposes, is probably the most talented player on the pitch tonight. I don't know if you agree with that, but he's like a fuori classe, a real player who he makes magic happen. So.
And he's well traveled too. This is something we talked about because we were mentioning the whole Hakan Çalhanoğlu situation on the Milan Reports podcast and saying, well, if he opts not to renew at Milan, which is a possibility with rumors linking him to Juve and even Manchester United, which other players can Milan go after? And Mkhitaryan's one of them. I know he's a Raiola client, and given the kind of the dicey situation going on with Donnarumma and his renewal, maybe that's not the best player to go after. But if we're speaking on the player and what he can provide, look, he's played at Borussia Dortmund. He had phenomenal seasons at Borussia Dortmund. Maybe that's in the distant past, but then he played for Manchester United, Arsenal. He's played for big clubs, and obviously at Roma, you can make a case he's revitalized and rejuvenated his career like many other players that have come to Serie A have been able to do, right? So when I look at him, on the older side, but, getting back to what I said earlier, like maybe he's a veteran player. You can try to, help usher in that next era of players that you have in the fray already. I know obviously the relationship that he has with Mourinho is documented. Everyone knows it's kind of soured over the years, but from a player standpoint, he's a fine player, creative, gets forward, work rate, is one of those players where you have to kind of like peel back the veil and look beyond numbers to learn and appreciate, that the intelligence in his role and the things he can provide to the rest of the players around him.
So nicely said. And with that, so we've just gone through the preview. How do you think this match is going to play out?
I think Roma are going to come to bring it, man. I really do. I think, look, they're also going to want to try and give Fonseca because I think there's no hard feelings towards Fonseca. It's not like Fonseca is leaving with a burning building in the rearview mirror.
No.
I think the players really kind of understand, like, it's been a difficult year. It's been a difficult couple of years under him. A lot of injuries, the COVID year, new ownership, and it's never easy to be in his situation. But Fonseca is a gentleman. I mean, when you see him coach, he's a true professional in every sense. And I think there's something that the players are going to try to bring to this match, his final derby. And I think it's going to be a really, really entertaining match. I think it's going to be a draw, but I think it's going to be exciting. It's going to be back and forth. I think you're going to see Roma taking risks. They're not trying to preserve any sort of, Europa League, your Champions League. I think they're going to try and say, hey, let's prove something. Let's make a statement. And you're going to have players, to your point, Wayne, about Kumbula. Like, I was excited when he went to Roma, and I'm sure many other Romanisti were as well because of what he did at Hellas Verona last year. So this is a match. Like, it's almost like a tryout in a way, an exhibition, a showcase, if you will, for Mourinho to say, hey, I can play. Like, you can rely on me next year to play a key role. And the derby is always that one match that can typically fuel something special in a player of that age and of that caliber.
Yeah, I think you're right. I hope you're right. And I do think that Roma is going to show up today because of those factors you've just stated. And as Mourinho comes in to steady the ship and start to really build something important, do you believe in Roma's long-term success? And success being not necessarily the Scudetto, but things ironed out where there's not up and down and things just, there's losses here and there, but overall the team is a well-oiled machine. Do you feel that that's in the not so distant future over the next, 1 or 2 seasons for Roma?
I think it's something. Look, I think that the beauty about the sport is that anything can happen in a given year. I mean, look where Milan were a couple years ago, right? They had Marco Giampaolo, fired him after 7 games, and then they brought in Stefano Pioli, who fans were saying, Pioli out. We don't want this guy, before he even put pen to paper to sign on for the job. Now he's got them about a game away from the Champions League berth, their first in 7, 8 years. So things can happen quickly. And I emphasize quickly in the sense that in 1 or 2 years, you can see Roma back in that conversation, because I think, as I mentioned, the nature of Serie A is it's deeper now. Not like it was a couple years ago where it's kind of Juve just dominating and then you maybe have one other team jockeying for them and everyone else is kind of tussling it out for the couple spots. I think top to bottom, when you look at Juve's situation, when you look at what Inter could be dealing with their financial situation and potential sale, and Milan, it's deep. And I think there's, with a good summer, with stability, with a let's be real here, healthier environment off the field. I think that was something that really hurt Roma and hindered their progression with that team, with Pallotta and everything with the sale and all that sort of background noise. It kind of at least flooded into the mainstream, and it didn't really allow Roma to do what they wanted to do and building off that those Champions League exploits they had a couple of years ago, Manolas, and being able to beat Barcelona. So I think with the owner in place, you have a champion manager. I know we're going to have to wait and see how that plays out and see if his style can adapt. And speaking with Mourinho, of course, but I think the players, as I mentioned, Ibanez, Villar, Pellegrini, El Shaarawy, you have some players in that squad that fans can look forward to. And if the stars align and you plug in those holes in there, I think Roma can be back in that conversation next year to be, at the very least, a Europa League squad, because I think they're definitely deserving of that, but maybe push a little bit forward for a Champions League spot, because I think Roma have been that team that have built strong sides over the years, but for whatever reason, maybe it's financial backing, maybe it's on the market, maybe it's Pelota's antics, haven't been able to say, hey, okay, we're going to make that next step like we've seen with Inter. So I think Roma fans, maybe a couple more years, 1 or 2 years, but dream big with this team. I think you have a great project that you can be building going forward, and you should be excited about it.
Thank you. It's nice to hear that too. Totally. And you and I spoke about before the YouTube how this could impact Milan now if Roma get the win. And as I pull up the standings, we see we're all on 36, but Lazio actually has a game less than everybody else right now. So looking at their points, 67, what's it going to take today to keep them out? Is it a Roma win?
I think if Lazio draw, if Roma can get a draw, then it has to be Atalanta victory, which the first one, right? Then it has to be a Juventus defeat. They're against Inter. That's a big match that's coming on. I think it's on right now. And then it has to be either a Lazio draw or loss. And I think Milan get in before they would even have to play a game tomorrow against Cagliari. So Milan fans are going to be watching this game, especially if things go the way they want in that Derby d'Italia.
Yeah, totally. I'm hoping that we, of course, get the win, and you can find Matt either in Manhattan jumping around or maybe tonight down on the Jersey Shore doing his thing. Matt, thanks so much. Of course, you can find him if you haven't already on Twitter and Instagram, Matt Santangelo. He's somebody who I think is going to keep contributing to this industry and somebody who brings a lot of positivity, a healthy head, and somebody who's just really an excellent writer at a time where we do need people to be able to articulate what's happening on the pitch and take it to the masses. So I hope in next few years as well that you just continue growing and something awesome happens and keeps happening to you. So thanks, Matt. And if you're at the end of this video, hit like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And thank you, Matt. And we'll talk
thank you
after in the chat room after this ends.